What a difference today makes. Ooh, 24 little hours. Okay, welcome everybody to today's video. It's your girl Uniquely Kimoya, your girl UK, and I'm playing dress up today. I'm all pretty. Yes, I'm playing dress up today because I'm feeling the Christmas breeze and I'm in the Christmas spirits right now. So yeah, I'm wearing my red plaid. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the Christmas breeze or the Christmas spirits or the Christmas season, even though it's undoubtedly my favorite time of the year. No, I am actually here to make the part 2 of a 2-part video about how I became homeless and my life experience in the shelters. Now, about a week and a half ago, maybe a week, I dropped a video on my Facebook and also on my YouTube, the official video of me telling the story and my experience in the night shelter, and that was the part 1. Now I'm here to talk about my life in the second shelter, which was the women's shelter. So this is the part 2. And for those who have followed that video and followed the story, what I'm about to say will make absolute sense to you because this is just like a follow-up. If you haven't watched it, you can go find it on my Facebook channel. And just follow the story, and then you can follow this one, and then you will get the whole complete story. So I'm just gonna pick up where I left off and go straight into the video. Okay, I spent 6 months in the night shelter from March, so kind of like a summary of what that video was about. Basically, it was just that I spent 6 months from March to September in that last year, 2022, in that night shelter. And from September 2022 to February 2023 in the women's shelter. Now, okay, in this women's shelter, right, as the name suggests, a women's shelter. So they were all women. Even the ladies working in the office were women. Men were not allowed to work there because it was just all women living there in the shelter. This shelter is slightly different than the one I was sleeping at nighttime because this I was paying rent for. I had a key, I had a room. It was a tiny room, but I had my personal space, my own intimate space. In my room, let's start there. In my room, I had just a tiny little fridge, like when you're in college or university and you have, these tiny little fridges, just enough to keep you for, something cool to drink and maybe to put some food in. Just those tiny fridges. Everybody knows those tiny fridges. So I had one in my room. I had a little tiny closet, and I had a single bed in that room. Now, there was also a sink where I could brush my teeth, wash my hands. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I had to share the bathroom and the kitchen with every other woman on that floor, which was the second floor. That's where I was. So there were about 4 rooms on the second floor, and each woman had, their own room, obviously. And then we would all share the kitchen, and there was a living area, and there was the bathroom. I mean, that place was disgusting. The day when I went to take a look at it, when I did the tour, it was really obnoxious. The bathroom was very unkept. The kitchen was okay at the time, but I mean, it was disgusting because these were all strangers just the same. And bathroom and kitchen spaces can be very intimate, can be very personal, and having to have mixed shared those with other stranger women, it was not. But I'm still grateful because it was still better than in the night shelter. I always have to put that out there. I am grateful. It was not the best for me, but it was still a little bit better because at least I was able to sleep in my own room and I was sleeping on my own bed in the night shelter too, but I mean, it was just good to know that if another woman farted or was snoring, I wouldn't have to hear it or smell it or all that kind of stuff. So I was happy that I had my personal space, and that was the greatest thing though. I was still going to my daughter's to eat sometimes. I'm not a person who really cooks, so I was never really cooking in that kitchen anyway. I almost never used it. And the bathroom, I had times where I just had no choice, but I had to use it as much as it was disgusting. I would always brush my teeth, of course, in my room, but the bathroom, I still showered at my daughter's sometimes, but I tried to utilize the bathroom that was provided for me as much as possible. Okay, so in this shelter, it was so much smaller than the big one, than the nighttime one that accommodated the men and the women. This was just a few women who were in situations and they had to, nowhere to go, or they had to leave home. Maybe they were in an abusive relationship. So this shelter is a safe haven also for a situation like that, where if you're like in a abusive relationship and there was domestic violence or so, you could have left home, you could have left your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, and you could get refuge in this shelter. Okay, it's always, that shelter was also a waiting list. It's not something you can easily get into or get eligible for, because it's always a waiting list. There were people who are waiting on that list for months, even a year or more. So it was not easy though. I was even surprised that I was upgraded to a women's shelter. I am happy and I'm thankful that that had happened, but it is something that is not the easiest to get into, and it has to also be very urgent also. Now, this building was a 3-floor building, yes. So there was the ground, there was the first, second, and the third floor. Now, on the ground floor, it was like this really big space. It was a big hall with tables, and so now this is where we would oftentimes have the meetings, like the in-house meetings with all the other women, just to see how things, are going, and if we're not getting along, if there's any concerns or so, or issues. At these meetings, which were 2 times a week, I think, every Monday and Thursday, we were able to voice our opinions or, express whatever we're experiencing. Also, there was a little room that the kids could play, because, like I said, ladies were here with their children also in this shelter. So there was this room for the kids to play. And there was also a very big kitchen. Now, this big kitchen on the ground floor was the kitchen for all the women from the 4 rooms on the first floor. That was their kitchen to use. On the first floor was no kitchen, and that's because there's a big office where about 6 women work. So yeah, they work from like 9 to 5 and Monday to Friday, not on the weekends. But even though they work during work days, during the week, they are assigned, different women are assigned, or different workers were assigned to work on the weekends should there be an emergency at the shelter. Now, I remember there was even a fire. I remember 2 things happening during that period when I was there. There was fire in one of the rooms on the first floor, where one mother left a candle carelessly in the room, and you could just imagine what happened after that. It was not out of control. It was dealt with quick and it was distinguished, but then there was also some kind of flooding, and there was an outage, and we didn't have electricity and internet or nothing. They also provided you with Wi-Fi and so. Now, on the second floor where I was, were also about 4 rooms, just like on the first floor. Then there was a little living area. The first floor had 4 rooms, a living area, and a big bathroom for all those persons living on the first floor. And of course, the big office, like I said, with the women who work there. Now, on the third floor were studios. Now, the studio was more for I remember at one point I almost got one room at the studio, which was on the third floor, but those were mostly reserved for like families. So let's say it's urgent and maybe you and your partner, or maybe you and your partner and your children, depending on if you have children, were in a situation where you needed somewhere, that the third floor was there for that particularly, unless it's available for maybe just a single person like myself. But normally it is meant to accommodate like a small family. Of course, there in the studios on the third floor, they had their own facilities. They had their own. It's a studio, just like where I'm living right now. So they had they had fridge inside. They had TV. They had, well, the other women didn't have TV, but anyone on the third floor in the studios, they had the luxury of having a TV, a cable TV. So good for them. And yeah, just everything, a studio. So they have everything, a couch and everything in their own personal space. So there they wouldn't have to share bathroom or kitchen or anything. But on the first and second floors, yes, we all had to share. Oh my gosh. Now, in this shelter, they had rules. I mean, I don't think I necessarily have to say that, because I mean, who wouldn't imagine that a place like that would have rules? So yes, they had rules, and the house rules were that we were not able to bring our partners inside. Like for myself, I went there as a single person. I didn't go there as a couple with someone else. So, and in the shelter too, I wasn't able to bring my children because my children were living with their father, and it was just a single bed just for one person. So my boys, I'm not talking about my daughter, but my boys wouldn't have been able to come there. Okay? But at the studios, well, yeah, maybe if I had the studio, they probably could stay there with me, but no. Now, as I was saying, the rules were that you're not able, well, unless they're living in the studio with your partner, that's different. But if you were registered, or if you came in and your file is that you're alone, you're not able to bring any visitors to the rooms or to the second floor, for example, where I was staying. They could only visit me on the ground floor where there was the big hall, or outside also. I forgot, they had a very big, not a really big, but a big enough backyard with a few benches. And like in the summertime, which is kind of around the time when I went, they would have sometimes some meetings outside on the benches, and we would all meet there, and the children would play around on the grass. It's really nice. There was a trampoline, and there were just I think 2 or 3 little things for kids to slide and just to play around with. So yes, they did have a backyard, and on the same lot right there, they had the washroom. So yes, we did have a washroom, and every month we would get tokens, like to wash, and everybody had a slot when they had to wash also. So I think I used to wash every Tuesday or something like that, and it's like between 12 and 2, and everybody had a time slot. So yes, there was that. There was the outside where we could go out and go outside, because for fresh air. So that was the yard. And of course they had the front of the yard, because it was just a building, just kind of like a tall building with 3 floors. And also on the ground floor, there were a few other things, because there was a computer room. There was the entrance, like when you're a visitor, you can sit there and wait, until you're attended to. And, yeah, they had a few other things on the first floor, because it was really big. But as far as the rules, which I was saying, I'm just trying to, explain as I remember. So the rule was that, yeah, you would have, like I was saying earlier, you had to meet outside or sit downstairs in the big hall. My kids would visit on the weekends, and I could have brought my kids to my room it was very small, yes, my boys, but we would never really hang out in my room. Well, sometimes Leif would lay there and play on my phone, but it was mostly that they were in the big hall downstairs, or if it was warm outside in the trampoline or something. Though the workers from the office were not there, because they would come at 9 and leave at 5, though they were not there to see. Maybe someone might have been watching. Of course, there were cameras, but not a camera in my room, obviously. But I mean, I guess they have cameras outside. I don't know if they had. I don't remember if they had cameras on the inside, but the rule was just the rule, and that you shouldn't come in after 11. We had to put out the garbage. There were these little in-house, I don't remember all of it, but little in-house rules here and there, when to put out the garbage, and persons were assigned to clean the hallway. So like on my floor, of course, obviously, because it wouldn't be for the first or the third, because that's not where I was really living. But on my floor, we would have days when, I would be assigned to wipe the whole like on a Thursday morning, for example, at 11, I have to clean the gangway. And of course, between us women who were sharing the bathroom, we would, in fact, there was 2 different showers. So there were 4 rooms. Room number 6 and number 7 would share the same shower, and like 8 and 9 would share the other shower. So it was narrowed down to that, and it would be between us to clean. Of course, we had to clean, and of course, the lady, one of the workers was assigned. They're assigned for different things. So one was in charge to do, little planning with the kids and the parents with the kids, and another one would see to make sure that the house was in order. So we would take out our garbage, and we would do. So the ladies in the office were assigned for different things, to supervise. Also, we had our assistant. I mentioned in the other video that we had assistants to help us find apartments, or to help us to get our shit together, get our game together. So in the women's shelter was the same. I had my assistant. I mean, yeah, we were also given at the end of every month, or I think the beginning of a new month, we would get cleaning products, because included in the rent that we were paying, the rent we were paying for these tiny little cubicles, where I found it a bit pricey. I found it very pricey for what we were getting as far as a room, and the fact that we were sharing, because the same money I was paying for that women's shelter is what I'm paying right now for this studio. And here I'm not sharing with anybody. Here I have my own freedom and my own space and everything. And there I was paying the same for just a tiny little room, to share a living area, to share a kitchen and a bathroom, for the same money I'm paying here. So I found it a little bit pricey, but I think they did it because they wanted us to know that we were there. It wasn't for luxury. We were there. It was not a hotel. We were there for as long as necessary, but to get out of there as quickly as possible. So I think that was the phrase, stay as long as necessary and leave as quickly as possible. So yes, they were helping us to find place, and then we had dates also when we could go down in the computer room with our assistant, and they would go on the websites where there were apartments for rent, and they would go over all of that with us. I almost never did it with them, because I was already busy I was in night shelter. I was always busy trying to find, because I have the app on my phone, so I was always searching on my own. And what I loved about this night shelter also, too, as I'm mentioning that, is the fact that I was able to stay up until late. Because though the rule is that we have to be inside latest 11 p.m., but no one can force you to go to bed. You're doing your own thing. You're your own person. As long as you're not out disturbing, the other women's on your floor, or making too much noise, and we're not allowed to play loud music and all of that. Just those common sense things, you know what I mean? But I was happy, though, that I was able to stay up, because I almost never sleep. I wouldn't go to bed. I'm not saying I never sleep, but I almost never went to bed early. That's what I should say. Versus in the night shelter, I had to shut all the gadgets off, all phones, tablets, whatever, 11 o'clock out, because we were sharing with other women. Now in this women's shelter, I didn't have to do that, and I was happy. I go inside, I lock my door, and I would just go on my phone. I had the application on my phone for all the different apartments that were available, and I would scroll for hours till late at night, till 3 and 4 a.m., just searching for, you know, the ones I was interested in. A heart, clicking on the heart or touching the heart, just to say that if it matched all the criteria and all of that kind of stuff. As morning came, I would be out of there and I would be gone to these appointments, looking at apartments and houses. So basically, I almost was never there. I spent very little time in this women's shelter, because while I could stay there in the daytime, because I was paying rent for it, and it was my own personal space, so I could be there in the daytime in my room, locked up, doing my own thing, and I'm there at nights. But I always left early in the mornings, maybe sometimes not too early, depending on when I have an appointment. I would always, and this place was very far, by the way, for the record. It was very far in the bushes. It was in the rurals. It was a very secluded, but it was very fresh, and it was I actually loved it. It was very green, and it was very refreshing, and you know, I found that more older people lived in that area, but I really loved the whole nature vibe that it gave me. It had many trees. It was really green. I liked it for that, but it was very far, traveling from, like, say, from the town and from regular places that I would be interested to look at apartments, you know, and places that I would be interested in living at. So I hated that part. It was very annoying, but for the most part, you know, it was okay. And remember, I was always gone, and I was always missing all these meetings, and they would always say, Kimoya. I remember I even crashed at one point, because I went there in September, and I remember at the end of November, they were begging me to slow down. And not only that, they wanted me to be present at these meetings. And also, if you were not present at these meetings, or if you were late, you could get a sanction. It could cost you your products, because at the beginning of every month, you would get your products, clean your room, and to wash the bathroom, and for the kitchen. So dishwashing liquid, paper towel, toilet papers, rags to clean, Mr. Plopper, bleach, things for the toilet. They would provide us every month with these, you know, products. I think it was included in the rent. And of course, in that rent, everything was included. So all the bills. So you're just there living, you're using water, you're just using electricity. Everything was just compounded in that one payment. So, yeah, I remember I was always gone, and I was never able to attend these meetings, and they were begging me, because they know I was on the hunt so badly for a place of my own. And I remember I was falling into a depression also. I was very much depressed these times. I was still going and going, but I was never succeeding at finding, however hard I was trying. And they asked me to stop and say, just forget about looking at places. Just stay and relax, and take a 2-week break, and just stay. And, you know, and of course also they wanted me to come to these meetings, because I was like 8 out of 10 times I was absent from these meetings, because I just had to go. I had appointments all over the place. So yeah, I remember it was just so crazy. I remember also that in December 2022, in December, just after 4 months after being there, or 3 months after being there, I really crashed. I just really couldn't anymore, and I gave up, and I didn't care anymore. And then January, I was wavering. I wanted to leave. I was wavering. Oh, am I going to continue to stay here, or am I going to leave? And then finally in February, I made the decision to leave. So I gave my room up, and I just went to the US. I went to New York February this year. I went to New York. I gave up my room, I gave up everything, and I just said, you know what? F it. I was just tired. I was just tired. I was burnt out. I was disappointed because I was never lucky to find anything. I was actually discriminated against because I do speak the language at basic, but I don't really speak it so deep. Or I mean, I can get by with what I know. I can, yeah, I can survive with what I know. And a lot of these people were discriminating against that, the fact that I am black. Some of them plain out would say they're not renting to any foreigners. Of course, I'm a foreigner. I'm not a native, Belgian. So it was used against me, and then I just felt so bad. And that's kind of what that was one of the things I factorized into my decision making. And I said, you know what, I'm just gonna leave. And I left. I told them that I was gonna leave for 3 months, and they said, yeah, but you do know that we cannot hold this place for you because there are other women. This is an urgent place, and this is a place of urgency, and other women are out there on the waiting list who want it. We cannot wait until you're gone off to the US for 3 months and then hold this room for you. And they're saying, yeah, but what are you gonna do when you come back? You're still not gonna have a place. I didn't care. I don't know if it was a calculated risk I took, but I just knew that I took the risk of leaving, and I just did it. Was it impulsive? Maybe, but I left and I went to New York, and I just wanted to take a break. It turned out that I spent only 1 month, so halfway in March, I was back here in Belgium, and guess what? Yes, of course, I didn't have a place. I didn't have a place. I think I slept around at my daughter for a few nights, and maybe a hotel. I don't know, something like that. But only 2 weeks after I got back, so the 2 last weeks in March, I got this place in the beginning of February. Actually, like the last week in March, I got this place. It was through a connection, and it's a studio. This is where I'm currently living, since April till now. This is where I am living. All my furniture, all my stuff are still in the container that I'm paying rent for. But for the moment, this is what I was lucky to get. This is not what I was searching for. This would not have been ideal for me because I want, my boys to be able to live comfortably with me. There's no way they can live here. This is just a studio, and everybody knows what a studio is. And this is what it all boiled down to. So, yeah, so it is. I don't know. Maybe it was kind of a good look because I went to New York and I spent a month, and I came back, and 2 weeks after I came back, I found this place. While before I was searching for all that time for March, and what? Nothing happened. So maybe the break was good, kind of. Though this is not ideal for me, but it is still something, and it's still my personal space. So I also want to always be grateful and thankful, no matter what the situation is. I want to look on the brighter side, on the positive side, versus, looking at the minuses. It is what it is, and this is where I'm at. And yes, that's the story. So I hope you can salvage something from this story, from my experiences in the shelters, in 2 shelters. Now, like I said, if you have not seen the first video, the one I posted over a week ago with the part 1 of you can go watch that first and then follow this, and then it would all make sense. You would know how I end up here, if you care, because you might not care to know that, but it's just something, it's just a story, and it might just show that, at the end of the day, I remember I didn't mention this part, but I remember I fell also into a very deep depression. I mean, all the while I was depressed, but I mean, when I got this place, I kind of was okay. I was okay. I have not been searching anymore. I kind of gave up, and the months passed, and fast forward to June, I went to Jamaica at the end of June. I spent all of July there with my kids. It was a great experience, having gone back to see my family, and it was just it was just nice to be back home after 3 or 4 years I didn't go. Like right before COVID hit was the last time I went, so it was really nice. But I also, when I came back, I was just in a major. I was having like a major, major. I was majorly depressive, and things just really went dark. I also shared another video about my experience with being depressed and really how dark my times have been. So they're all on my channel, Uniquely Kimoya Nicole. All those videos are there for you to watch if you know maybe find my story intriguing or interesting. um yeah, but you know what, hurrah hurrah, I'm out of it. I didn't think I was gonna make it out alive, especially in August and September. Those 2 months were extremely dark, and in the beginning of October I found myself seeing a tiny little bright light at the end of the tunnel. And for all those who have been praying for me, family and friends on Facebook, I mean, I think that what kind of brought me through. And the last ounce of strength that I had left in me is what really brought me through. So I'm just really grateful that I'm here today to even share this story. This is really a sentimental experience. This is really something. This is something. This is a portion of my life, very sensitive, but I will never forget these experiences for the last year and a half. The last year and a half. Since March 2022, right back until November 2023. I will never forget these experiences. I've learned a lot of lessons, and what can I say? I'm just happy that I'm here to tell the tales, because I almost wasn't. Let's just leave it at that. I almost wasn't here to tell the tales. So I'm just grateful. God is love. God is good. And yeah. I'm going to wrap this video up. Like I said, salvage something positive from it, and have yourself a very good rest of the day. Stay blessed. Peace out. Keep smiling. Yee! Wee! 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 Let me end this. I didn't know one phone could be and also I forgot to mention that when we just move into this women's shelter, there's this welcome gift, which is a package with a pot set, utensils, teacups, glasses, a few food items, a comforter, a pillow, all new, a sheet set, and there might have been a little bit more, but I just don't remember everything. But I figured this would be necessary to add at the end of the video, because I didn't remember to mention them earlier. So yes, and also we always got, like, for example, on our birthdays. I remember on my birthday, at least, I got a perfume from one of the social workers. Well, she was the one who was responsible for us and to make sure that our rooms are kept clean and tidy, because they did do inspection from time to time. Every week she would do her inspection, and how our floor was going, how our bathrooms were going, and all of that. So they did actually used to do inspection there, but I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, yeah, because these women were really nasty, some of them. But anyways, yeah, and also I remember in Christmas time, we got a caddy. So we had like a caddy. It's just a little two-wheel thing to go get our grocery. Now, this caddy, I remember we came home or we woke up one morning actually, and the caddies were just right at our doors. Each room door, had a caddy nicely wrapped with a bow, and inside were, a few gift items. There was chocolate inside, and it was really nice. It was really a nice gesture. Even the welcome gift was a nice gesture, just to make us feel already at home, I guess. We also were able to sign up, for food. So one time per week, at a nearby place, we were able to go get food sometimes, fresh vegetables and packaged food, even cosmetics. But we would get a lot of food. That place, oh, oh my gosh, you would get a ton load of food in this place once per week. And also in the welcome gift, I forgot to mention, there's like spaghetti and pastas and coffee and the little sugar blocks. And I mean, just was really good. I mean, they didn't treat us badly. They didn't treat us inhumane. They treated us with respect, which was very important. And I mean, it was okay. The experience was okay. I personally don't want to be okay. I want to be better than okay, but I'm just grateful to say the least.